Now we move into the property sector, our regular look at that sector. And then we're talking real estate in Sub-Saharan Africa and valuations. Roger Hunting from the Broll Property Group here to provide his insights into that. And there's a big conference on at the moment as well, Roger, which you can tell us about in a moment. But it struck me, I attend the IPD conference every year, and 5 years ago there was not much conversation about South African investors looking at property in the rest of Africa. Now it's part of the conversation. And of course, valuation is the key to property investment. So what are the issues in Africa?
Well, the reasons for the enhanced interest in valuations in Africa is because South African companies are moving more rapidly, if you like, into the rest of Sub-Saharan Africa. But also there is need from international multinational companies who are interested in investing in those countries, whether that investment is directly in property or whether they are acquiring businesses with property assets. And obviously valuations are necessary as part of the process of assessing the suitability of the investment and the value of the asset.
Yeah.
Roger, is there a set methodology for valuing a property?
Well, there's no standard methodology, but there are methodologies that are acceptable. There are international valuation standards that have to be complied with, and most South African companies who are our clients for valuation purposes in Sub-Saharan Africa require compliance with either international valuation standards or what's known as the Red Book, which is a document that sets out valuation standards and guidelines and is issued by a global property consultancy institution. So there is obviously there are set standards, but methodology changes according to the nature of the asset.
So what do? You go to a place where the market hasn't been operating as the South African market does. You've got to start somewhere. So let's say you go to Nairobi or you go to Nigeria or to perhaps a less sophisticated market than those. Where do you start? Do you have to come up with a number and see what happens?
It's hardly, we hope it's not guesswork, but you're right, it's not easy. The markets are immature. The market in South Africa is relatively mature. The markets in Europe and America are mature. The markets in Sub-Saharan African countries where Broll has JV partners, the markets are not that mature. The accessibility of market data is very limited. So you have to do your own research. We're fortunate in that we do have offices which in which joint venture partners also have valuers who we can work with. But it's the obtaining of data, incredible data for valuation is difficult. It's simply because of the nature of the market being immature.
Yeah.
So you have a conference that's currently taking place, and
Yes.
you're going to have different stakeholders coming together. Getting data, as you've mentioned, is very hard.
Yeah.
What are the other issues that you're hoping to resolve at this conference?
Well, you touched on it yourself, standards. It's very important. Property valuation is within the property business is a fairly high risk area, and risk management is becoming increasingly important, obviously from the client's point of view, but also from our point of view as advisors. So the purpose of this valuation conference, firstly, is to network so that we, Broll in South Africa, we have offices, valuation offices in Johannesburg and Cape Town. Our joint venture partners are in Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, Malawi, Mauritius. And part of the rationale for the conference is to network with it, get to know these people, to get them to understand what our requirements are and what their needs are. Secondly, it is to hopefully standardise approach and consistency of valuation reporting. That's in essence the reason for the get-together.
One hears that property in a sense follows business. So you have a big South African retail chain that goes into the rest of the continent, and then property investors and valuers and buyers follow them. They expect, I suppose, what they get from you in South Africa, they expect the same wherever else they go.
Well, indeed. I mean, this, the other issue from our side is that Broll is the network affiliate of CBRE Global, which is the largest property consultancy in the world, quoted on the New York Stock Exchange. So we have to comply with their requirements as well as looking to meet the needs of the client and due care on the part, on our part, when we're reporting to the client.
I know it's hard to talk about property valuations across Sub-Saharan Africa, but are you finding certain regions where they are making inroads in terms of standardization, where you are able to get access to information?
Yeah, who's top of the class?
I would be unfair to say who's top of the class, but in a number of these countries there are local regulatory bodies that are set up to regulate, if you like, standards, and they're becoming increasingly of increasing importance, and they are aware of the need for international standards. So the answer to your question really is that yes, standards are improving, and as indeed they are everywhere else, but in the valuation context, in order to deliver to clients, you haven't got to just match, you've got to be better. You've got to improve those standards.
You don't have to match, you have to be better, and hopefully we'll be getting the necessary outcomes from the conference. Thank you so much. That is Roger Hunting. He's the Director of Valuation and Advisory Services at Broll Property Group.